Hello everyone, welcome to this segment of the Archer's Quest. This will be video blog 9, I think this is 9A, I'm going to call it 9B, because we did the one about the tactics. Now, I mentioned in one of the blogs about a system that I was going to use this year to try to lure deer in. And what I call it the Triple D. What that is, it's a double doe drag. Now, I want you to think about something here, and this is the reason I came about it. When we're in the woods, we always, it seems like, see at least 2 does together, if not more. Near the end of last year, I got to thinking about this, and it just so happened I had 2 different estrus scents made by 2 different companies. So, I went out and I put them on drags and I ran them, and I noticed that, it wasn't really that different. But I did notice that I saw more bucks. Now I saw a lot of younger bucks. Of course, it's later in the season. This was December, into December. So since then, I got to thinking more and more about this, and wanted to really, try to come up with a system that might help us all and bring in more deer and give us a better shot at deer. So that's when I came up with this. Now what I've done is, now you notice I got 1 glove on. The reason is because I'm keeping everything as scent free as possible. Anytime I go into the woods, I'm always wearing brown jersey gloves, and then when I get to my tree stand, I take these off and spray my hands down. These have been sprayed down with scent capture, but I'll spray my hands down and then I put on the different pair that I'm going to hunt in. But anyways, system's real easy. It is nothing more than and I just touched this. It's a 6 foot, I think it's about a 5.5, 6 foot stick. And what I've done, hang on here. What I've done is I ran paracord, and I ran, I think there's about 6 foot of paracord here too. And then I tied it to a carabiner. Now the carabiners are different colors. This one's red and the other one's blue. Now I got paper towels here on here today just to demonstrate this. I'm not going to put the real thing on there, but I got the carabiners on there at different colors. The reason the carabiners are different colors is because I'm going to be using 2 different estrus scents from different does, and I'll explain that to you in a second. The paper towel will actually be a drag rag. Now what I did was I went to our local store and I bought some wash rags, and then I cut them in 2 and then kind of frizzed them off and then poked holes in them for them to fit in, for the hole to use to run the carabiner through. Basically, system, put the one on here, 1 doe scent on here, and the other doe scent on here. Set it down, kind of run this behind you, this on this side of you, and then you just walk through the woods. Now, let me set that down. What I'm going to use is products made by Pure Whitetail out of Ohio. Now this is fairly a new company, but if you go to purewhitetail.com, they have got a ton of products. These guys have been working their south ends off, coming up with stuff for us hunters to use. They are hunters, but what I'm going to do is on the red rag is I'm going to use Pure Whitetail 100% premium doe estrus urine, and this is from their deer they called Wild Thing. On the blue carabiner, I'm going to use their White Lightning, which is a peak estrus, and it is from their deer named Pebbles. So what I'm going to do is the reason I went with blue and red is because of the labels. If you look here, the labels, this one's red, this one's blue. The rag and the bottle for Wild Thing will stay in one Ziploc bag. Pebbles and the rag that I put it on will stay in another. I'll always wear gloves when I put these on. Now the only thing I have thought about doing is I've thought about taking this, and I don't know if I'm going to do this or not, but I thought about maybe taking some of it out of here and pouring it into a spray bottle to make it easier to apply. I haven't really decided yet. Now the way I'm going to use this, and a lot of guys, and when I've talked about this with some people, and they've never really thought about it, but a lot of times when we lay scent drags, we lay them from wherever we're at to our tree stand. That's not what I'm going to do with this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk into my tree stand like I always do. I'm going to leave my gloves on, get my lures out, undo my carabiners, put my rags on my carabiners. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to my shooting lane. I'm going to go out to a shooting lane. I'm going to say my tree stand. I'm the tree stand. I'll go out to one shooting lane that might be over here to my right. I'm going to apply the extra scents to the rags, and I'm going to take and I'm going to walk, I'm going to say 40-50 yards to my right. When I get to where I'm done walking, I'm going to stop. I'm going to grab the rags. I'm going to collect them. I'm going to walk back to my tree stand area. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to a shooting lane either in the center or to the left of my stand. I'm going to lay the rags down again. I'm going to reapply more extra scent to them, and then I'm going to walk 40 to 50 yards to my left, walking through shooting lanes as I'm going and on out. The reason I'm doing this is years ago I took and I goofed up on a big deer. Come to find out the deer was actually shot by a neighbor farmer and ended up being like number 3, number 4 in the state of Kentucky. But what I did was I went into the woods that day. I rode a 4-wheeler in so far, got off, did all my stuff, got away from my 4-wheeler. Well, I took and put lure on my boots, and then I had a drag rag going behind it. Walked to my tree stand, walked through my shooting lanes, got up my tree stand. Before daylight, it was still dark. I'm sitting there, I hear something, boom, coming through the woods. It's right underneath my tree stand at one time. I'm like, this sounds like a good deer. As it's walking away from my tree stand, I took and I turned my light on, and it was him. I hurried up and turned the light off because I didn't want to spook him. But what he did was he actually walked through a couple of my shooting lanes. I could tell by the way he's walking. And then he got on that and he walked the opposite way. He walked basically back to my 4-wheeler. Most deer, most animals will take them when they come in or they get on a scent or an odor. They will follow that, and most of the time they will take and they will follow it from its weakest point to its strongest point. Now, it just so happened he came into where it was most strongest at. There's no other deer there, so he started following it away, never came back. I never got a chance to harvest that deer. It was like 2-3 weeks later. The neighbor harvested him, but that's the way it goes. But that's the idea behind this. The reason I'm using 2 different scents is to keep keep the bucks more interested. I've watched deer before come in. I've laid drag rags in that. They'll either come in or they're real cautious and real nervous. So I'm hoping by putting out 2 different scents of 2 different deer that this will help calm them down a little bit, or they won't be as nervous and give us a chance for a shot. Now, I know what some of you might be saying that follow. Hey, you've already shot a deer in Kentucky. You can't shoot nothing. That's right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to film my results. Now, back last year, I took and planned my vacation for October 27th through November, I think it's 9th. So I'm basically off 2 weeks. That's usually about the time the rut around here peaks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the woods just like I was hunting. I'm still going to take my bow because I can still shoot a doe, but I'm going to go in just like if I was hunting that big buck. I'm going to apply this like I told you, and I'm going to videotape it with the camera. That way you can see firsthand, I can see firsthand, and we're going to see how this works. Now, I'm also experimenting with something else a little bit different, and I don't really want to get into a lot of that, but me and my son have been playing around. My son is a trapper. He's been to Trappers College, and from him and a couple lure manufacturers, I've really learned a lot about lure and scents, and I've learned more about the way they're packaged than anything. But we'll get into that into another video blog. So hey, until next time, good luck to you all, and good hunting.